first exploratory pit stop. Look at tire wear, look at fuel mileage, etc. The cautions, of course, have played into that, but we're right there where multi-car teams will start making moves.
Christophe Bouchou there. This is one of the R10s. This is the car that won several years ago, of course, with great success. But this is run by the Collis Racing team. There you see the second of those two cars. And these cars have not been restricted this year. The other diesel-powered cars, the factory cars, have a smaller restrictor in terms of throttling the engine down. They also run less boost this year. But because the Collis cars are not deemed as factory cars in the latest technology, they don't have to run with that restriction.
One of the Rebellion cars on pit road as well. Beautifully turned out machines. Run by Speedy Racing Team SEBA last year. It's Rebellion this year, but SEBA still is the organization behind it that does all the mechanical work on that program. And really, they've turned out a good program. That is the team that Marco Andretti is running with here.
Yeah, they're based in the UK, formerly in the former Lister shop. Alex Pesky is the owner. Big racing fan, and he owns a couple of the companies that we see involved there. Rebellion is a wristwatch, and Limo is some electrical connectors, or that's the company that he basically brands the cars with. So, big racing fan, and I mean, they've really jumped around the last couple of years and now running with the big boys.
That was the third car in the shot we were looking at, the 12 car that we were referring to that Marco Andretti will be in. Saw one of the engineers with a pyrometer checking the temperature of the pit lane to see what track surface temperature they're dealing with right now. It'll help them make decisions on which tires, pressures, etc. that they're going to run.
As the Peugeots run up front, we were talking about Rebellion Racing. Jamie can tell us more.
That's right, and when I was speaking with Guy Smith earlier in the week, one of the drivers for Rebellion Racing, he was saying that for the team, if they could just finish in the top 5, that would be almost like winning for them. With the battle between the diesel-powered cars and the petrol, gasoline-powered cars, it's really not a fair battle. So their hope for Rebellion Racing is just to try and be the fastest petrol-powered car. They're actually calling it LMP 1.5. That's just halfway through the field, and that's their goal for today.
Well, they're having a good go of it as well. You see the 007 and the 009 Aston Martin, those beautiful Gulf liveried Lola Aston Martins, the V12 in there. There's not a better sounding car at the circuit.
Fan favorite for a couple of reasons. I mean, certainly the paint job is good. It's a beautiful car, but that wonderful V12, man, does it sound good going around here.
When you watch these cars on the racetrack, Dorsey, when they're coming at you from a little bit of further away, you really see those high front fenders. It really brings you back to the old GT40 days, the original time that they ran here in those Gulf colors.
In fact, the Audi guy's getting ready to pull one of the cars in for routine service.
Frank Montagny really closing in on the gearbox of Pedro Lamy up front, who's really held the lead from the pole position that was grabbed by his teammate Sebastian Bourdais.
Now, in qualifying, Olivier Canel said, go for it, boys. Whoever gets the pole gets the pole. What's he saying now, just barely an hour into 24? Is he going to let them race this early on, or will they run lockstep? I would assume they'll stay
that goes
like this.
Back to my keys of the race, game plan. I'm sure he's got a game plan, and they're going to stick to that. If it's a no passing situation, unless the other car's in trouble, whatever it might be, these guys are completely, fully, involved. It looks like everybody on pit lane's getting ready to do something.
And go ahead and make note, the number 3 of Pedro Lamy has the red mirror as he runs out in front. Now you see the 8 on pit road. Chris?
And we see Marcel Fassler just going to take fuel here. Doesn't look like tires. Brad Kettler at the front of the car. Brad typically works with the young new drivers at Audi. He's doing that again this weekend. Spoke with them right before the race. He said, I just told these guys, hey, let's be really smart out there. You guys can't get wound up. You got to be patient. You got to take your time. That's what hurt them last year, the young crew. And obviously in this first run, hasn't hurt them yet.
Looking at that pit stop, you saw the first thing that happened. The car comes in, driver shuts the engine off. That's mandatory. You can't touch the car till the fueling's done. So the fuel man went to work, dumped the fuel in. That's all they needed for that stop. So then when you go to refire the car, you have to start it on its own battery, and it has to proceed from there.
And 81 liters is what the fuel capacity is on the diesels. 90 liters for the gasoline-powered P1 machines. And here we see the Oreca car, the second of the Oreca entries.
Might have done a shock absorber adjustment or change there. They were up underneath the hood. Didn't quite get to see what they wrenched on.
Maybe the driver was feeling the front bottoming a little bit, Dorsey. Maybe they had to just work on the ride height there. You don't want to be doing that over 24 hours. It'll literally beat the car to death.
Now, we were talking to Hugh DeShornack the other day about running two P1 cars, and he's running two very different. One, the Peugeot, and then also the open cockpit petrol-powered car, but Dunlop's on the open cockpit car, Michelin's on the Peugeot. So he has his handful down there, not only dealing with the engineers on the two different types of cars. He said, I'm going to work really hard to keep the tire engineers apart and try to keep everything secret. Justin?
Yeah, actually, guys, you only caught the end of that shot. Nothing to do with the driver. I don't believe they had a fastener issue on the front clip, so they changed it off. So they just replaced it. Another one went on, and it's only like a surface plate. But right now, here comes the number 2 Peugeot, I think it's coming in. This is the first time we've seen the Peugeot in here. Definitely the most beautiful car. It is only going to be fuel. Remember that Le Mans is incredibly strict about who comes over the white line over there. So the guys cleaning the front windscreen, the driver assist, who you just saw in there changing the drinks bottle out, shows it must be pretty humid. He's not counted as allowed to work on the car. So now it all goes calm, back behind the wall. Obviously, as much fuel as they can get in, clear the windscreen, and boom, off they go with a little bit of launch control. They're not allowed to spin too many wheels here at Le Mans. They get a bit funny about that, but the first stop for Peugeot, and it's clean and safe.
Saw the brake reset fuel board up. The reset fuel is through the ECU, through the computer. There's a button on the dash that you zero back to a full fuel load, and it will count down quite accurately, I might say, to when you're out of fuel.
It's so critical, especially with the diesel. You can't afford to run out of fuel. They can't even switch over to a different fuel pump. So talking to the Audi squad, and now we see Alan McNish. You'd have to say this is the #1 car, quote, the favorite car in the Audi camp. Everything seems to be built around this amazing threesome of drivers. They've got 13 Le Mans wins behind them, and they're looking for 3 more to add to their resumes here this weekend.
He wasn't very thirsty.
Yeah, Calvin, they're going to stretch the 9 car. It looks like 1 more lap. McNish, I think, is just going to take fuel. They did set up tires on the other side of the white line, but it looks like they're just going to take fuel on the #7 car now. Now, this is one aspect that Peugeot feels that Audi is beating them. The point from pulling that fuel out of the car to the driver, hitting that starter and out of pit lane. They said that's where the Audi guys are making up time on us. They've really picked this thing apart so much that they're